Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome to Sibyl's Gab. This is the series where we babble about whatever our cartomantic loving souls are interested in for the week. This week, we're going to be calling on our skills as teachers and teaching each other something. So, Amelia, explain a little bit more about what we mean by that.
Okay, so this topic was actually sort of kind of my idea. So this month is smack in the middle of summer break if you are a parent or a teacher of any kind and follow the academic schedule. So we're between the end of the school year, early June kind of bustle, and then before the back to school, late August mania. But whatever your home or work life is, sometimes we all need a reminder to settle into the moment and slow down during the summer season. I always associate summer with like a slowing down of time because we're kind of between worlds. And so we're using an opportunity with this video to invite everybody to slow down for summer.
I was on board with this idea, but we were both kind of befuddled about how to approach a video on slowing down. So in some ways, we like sort of kicked the can down the road and said, let's think about this later and let's think about it by ourselves. We decided that we would each bring our teaching energy to the table and think of something that connected to that theme of slowing down and teach each other. So Amelia is going to teach me something, a practice, an idea connected to this theme that I haven't I'm going to be totally surprised by it. I'm excited that I'm going to share mine with her and we'll see what genius we come up with. Hopefully some gem from one of our practices or maybe one gem from each will work for you or be of interest to you. So I think first we have a piece of business, Amelia.
Yeah, so before we jump in, we are going to share the decks that we'll be working with. So we both tried to choose ones that seemed especially suited to the pace that we're going for. So I am going to be working with the Ma'at Tarot by Julie Kachia Watts. This is based in part on Egyptian story and folklore, but also just kind of general world folklore and mythology. She kind of does her own thing here with astrological associations with this. This is actually a deck that I don't know very well, so when I use it, I have to slow down with it. I don't have the book, and so I haven't read any of that yet. So I really do just have to go off of the imagery and the cards and really look at it. And I will also be working with the second edition of the World Spirit Tarot. This is a deck that is no longer in print. These are the backs that I have. But this is a very summery deck. A lot of bodies represented here, a lot of just different representations of people that I love so much. It's also colorful and lush, just like the summer months are. What are you working with?
I love it. My first deck, I decided to go a little on the nose. This is the Slow Tarot by Lacey Bryant. For people who like this deck, I thought it was out of print, but it is in print, at least as of today. So the link for that will be in the video description. But she named it the Slow Tarot because no one was going to rush her as she was painting this deck. It was painfully and shamelessly slow, beautiful oil painting. So I thought it would be a good fit for the energy of the video. The second deck that I'll be using is the Tarot de Saint Croix by Lisa de Saint Croix. Everyone knows this deck. This is the borderless edition. It is beautiful, summery. I think that the energy of the deck invites contemplation. It is not frenetic. She wants us to sit with the images, and each of the images, I think, has a depth that really calls for that and is exciting. So this will be my second deck. I love the cultural breadth of it. All right, our first presenter teacher idea is going to come from Amelia, so take it away. I'm excited. And I'll be using my Slow Tarot for this one.
Welcome to class. All right, I'll be using my World Spirit for this one. Okay, so I struggled with this because like I had to stay on theme, right? And I was kind of doing a little bit of word association. It's like, what do I think of when I think of summer and the slowness of summer? I think of, I'm from the South. So there's just kind of like no denying that a Southern summer is a unique experience. We get very, very hot down here, which is easy to focus on kind of the negative aspect of summer. But one of the things that I love about summer that I celebrate every single year is the return of the stone fruits. And if you are not from I don't know, anywhere in the world where stone fruit, do you know what a stone fruit is, Danielle? You do. A stone fruit is a fruit that has a pit inside of it. So like a
Oh,
peach, a
it's like
plum.
a type of fruit. I thought you meant that there was like a
No,
specific.
no, no, no. The sub-genre of stone fruits. My husband can attest. I get so excited when we first start seeing cherries are usually the first ones that crop up for us. But when we first start seeing cherries in the stores and the markets, I get so excited because I
You
love
get bananas in the grocery store.
I mean, it's true. I love peaches. I love plums. I am here for it. And there is something so like sensual. And I don't mean that in like the salacious way. I mean that like it is a delight for the senses to appreciate a good peach. We here in Texas, where I'm from, we have both our Fredericksburg peaches, which are delicious. We also have Pittsburgh peaches, which are amazing and sweet and juicy and amazing, like just and so I was thinking about the peach as like a metaphor for summer and like, what does it mean to slow down with a peach in the summer? And what I really was kind of focusing on, and actually I do want to pull out. So in the Southern Gothic Oracle, she does have a peach as the card. Which is the keywords for this are fertility and love. But I was focusing actually mostly on the pit, on the stone in the center of the peach. So if you don't know, if you've never had a peach before, they have what's called a stone in the center, which is a large pit. Instead of like an apple or other fruits, there aren't little seeds kind of scattered throughout. There's just one central pit in the middle. I almost saved one to show it, but I assume most people have the internet at hand. And the flesh that's around the stone is, and all of these different types of stone fruits is very, it's tender. It bruises really easily and it rots really quickly. I mean, you could have a peach go bad. It's like an avocado. You could have a peach go bad in a couple of days. It's good. And then the next thing you know, it's rotting on the counter. And if it's ripe, the flesh just like pulls away very, very easily from the stone with very little effort. And if it's a good peach, the meat is sweet, juicy, and it's full of flavor. So thinking about this as a metaphor for reading tarot, I imagine that like the flesh of a good peach is the type of reading that is like full and juicy. It lets you like sink into every aspect of it. This is like a long journaling session or tarot reading where you really get to like dive into all of the complexities of an issue, and it leaves you with a lot to chew on. And the rewards of this type of reading are immediate and they're meant to be enjoyed for a shorter period of time and like really just kind of immerse you into the experience of reading. But the stone, on the other hand, is hard. It's not edible. And if you don't know, the pit of a peach is actually hollow on the inside. It's very, very hard and it's hollow on the inside. And if you snap it or crack it in half, the actual seed is inside. So it's almost like a little treasure chest. In various cultures across the world, peach stones are actually carved and worn as a protection spell, which is kind of interesting. They're considered the heart of the fruit. So when I think about the peach stone as a metaphor for a tarot reading, what I'm thinking about is getting to the heart of a reading. I'm thinking about an answer to a question that doesn't necessarily have immediate satisfaction, like the juicy, ripe, hour-long journaling session. But when we can plant it kind of into our psyche over time, it will reap results that have the ability to transform and then like have a domino effect almost, you know, thinking about planting a seed. We don't just get one peach in return, we get many peaches, right? Like this is something that is going to last for years to come. You know, this isn't really the type of like a seed reading isn't really the type of reading that you would spend an hour journaling about and then forget as soon as you close the book and then life takes over. This is something that's really simple and singular that we can turn over in the back of our minds as we go about our daily lives, and that can like bury itself in our awareness and grow roots. So like what I'm kind of imagining here is exploring an approach to reading that is very simple and distilled. So we're thinking about like a single stone that can be found at the center of a fruit. So we're going to practice distilling readings down into a single sentence, just one. We don't get more than one. We get one sentence that contains some kind of wisdom that we can walk away with that may not even necessarily make sense right away, but will over time, as we're able to kind of turn it around in the back of our minds, grow into something even bigger than when it started. So, I mean, I always kind of do come back to this idea with tarot reading of like, how can I simplify? How can I distill? How can I make this really clear and concise? Maybe these are my years of stage management. Because when I was communicating, I was having to write so many emails every day. And it was like, how can I communicate this information in a way that everybody will understand? And there's no like guesswork to it. It's, you know, boom, here's what you need. But when it comes to tarot reading, I'm thinking about something that can plant itself, right? So something like a sentence that can plant itself. So a reminder for anybody out there who might want to participate in this, we have two parts of a sentence. You have a subject. So that's like your person, your place, or your thing. They either will like perform the action or will be like what the action is happening to in the sentence, right? And then the second part of the sentence is our predicate, which is the action. That's our verb. So she runs. And sometimes there might be a modifying phrase that helps us understand the verb, like she runs away, or she runs fast, or she runs, you know, whatever. But those are the requirements, is that we need a sentence with a subject and some kind of verb or action, because that's where the good stuff happens. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we, I'm assuming that we're not always going to be this subject. Like it might.
No.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with 2 card readings.
Okay.
For this like kind of first layer. And, you know, for practicing with this type of reading where you're really working on distilling your messages down, it doesn't have to be serious. So I know I talked about like wisdom that gets planted in the psyche and blah, blah. It doesn't have to be that at first. It really can be as simple as pulling 2 cards, make a sentence. Okay. You know, I think it's good to ask a question, to start with some questions. So I wrote down a list, but Danielle, I'm also happy to, if you have any questions that you're just like, this sounds.
I think I was going, like, I was ready to come with like, what do I need to know right now? You know what I mean? Something generic. So I would love to know some examples of what you think would be good questions for this kind of exercise.
Yeah, so like good practice questions are things, I mean, you could always ask the question, how can I slow down this summer, if we're going to stay on theme? But you can also use practice questions like, let me find my list. How can I handle my interactions with compassion? So that is like a deeper wisdom question, right? But it's lighter. It's not like,
I love that.
it's also not like, how can I face the shadows, you know, like, or to reference another video of ours, how can I bring more play into my life? Or a question could be, I mean, if you're having issues with somebody at work, it's how do I handle this conflict with my coworker or with my boss? You know, what is my next step in fill in the blank area of life? These are all kind of, they're not light, but they're not like the heavy work, you know.
Okay.
But you tell me, what is a question that you would like to start with?
I mean, this is kind of a heavy question, but I think so. What about like how can I be more authentic or live more authentically? Like, is it okay? Because like from what I'm hearing, we're able to come back to this later if we want to. So it's not like I need to like read and like here is the fullness of truth and answer this question. Is that too big though? Would
No,
it be?
no. Let's see what comes up. 2 cards. Let's see what comes up. All right. And we're going to be reading for ourselves.
Okay. Okay. Ooh, card jumped out. Oh, okay. We got the Lovers and the Eight of Cups. So the Lovers and the Eight of Cups. Okay. What did you get? What was the ooh?
I got Death and the Sage of Swords, which in this deck is the King. So that's the King.
Okay. Those are dark. Like, you know, color palette. Color.
He's like a warlord. He's like ready
to bring the pain.
He is ready to fight. One sentence. And it's okay if you have to like talk your way there, right?
Tell me, I think my instinct is like a imperative sentence. Like do this or don't do this with the implied subject, but it's not like, so I look at this and my instinct is to say, stop, like walk away from caring what you look like through other people's eyes, right? Like here are 2 people looking at each other and here is, we're going to say that's me walking away from a kind of fixation on like the gaze of someone else. So stop perceiving myself through other people's eyes. But that's like, is that like, what, how does that fit? Does that work?
Well, so the idea of this kind of a practice is to force ourselves to like slow down and only say what we mean. Right?
Okay.
But also the second part of that is that we then have something really simple that can almost act as a touchstone.
Okay.
So do you feel like walk away from what were your words? Walk away from
seeing myself through other people's eyes.
Walk away from seeing myself through other people's eyes. Does that feel like something that you can reference back to easily in your mind and can pull forth?
Oh, I like, so I have a Hobonichi and I see myself putting that on the right page, like writing it and sitting with it. So it's a thing I'd want to sit with and could see myself journaling about later. But if what you're suggesting is like, could I look at this and like apply it to my day? That feels kind of big. So should I kind of think about how I can use this to come up with something with like a granular, like this?
See if you can distill it even more.
Okay. All right. Can you model for me with your cards?
Possibly. What do I think this has to say? So you kind of have to like talk your way into there. Like there's no expectation that you can look at cards and go, here is one sentence. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I love to challenge myself to do this though sometimes. I mean, gosh, look at the death card. This is like agony. This is death as mourning.
Ooh. Can you tell? So it's kind of dark. What are we seeing there? Like
So
what?
we're seeing a funeral pyre, and there is like a phoenix rising from
Oh,
the flames, but below we have all of the mourners who
okay.
are, I mean, these aren't just crying figures, these are like like weeping and like
Wailing, keening.
wailing figures. Yeah. Um, so we've got that for our death card. And then for our Sage of Swords, he's in the ice. Um, and he's got like a raven here with him, and he's holding a skull. Um, um, hmm. So like mourning, so here's how I would walk into it. Mourning is definitely an action that I need to take here, right? Like that is, I pull that so much from this death card. And so I've got kind of like the beginnings of my predicate, right? The beginnings of my verb. I know my verb is mourning. He's so icy though. Like we've got such intense emotion here in this death card, and then he's just like chill in comparison. Even the visuals of this, there's so much white here, and then there's like dark and red and orange. So I think there's like some sense of like allowing the mourning to happen.
Okay.
And when we think about like, to elaborate, right? When we think about authenticity, a lot of times there's a little bit of a death that needs to happen. There's like a death of an ego. There's the death of what we think we know about ourselves, or what we think we know about our place within things. Authenticity often demands that we kind of step away from the status quo, as it were. And so I think there's like this, um, you know, allow myself to mourn that sense of belonging. So how I would distill that even further is it's okay to mourn what could have been.
Wow.
So like, do you see what we're doing here? We're kind of like really getting to the heart of the reading. So with your two cards, what would you pull that back, like even further back down?
So I was thinking about a kind of like I was thinking in today actions, maybe, or in kind of granular, like simple actions, and like really distilled, like turn my attention away and walk alone. Like, there's like a really big difference. Like, she's turning her back. This is so other focused, and this is walking very much by herself in an open space. This is really lush and garden like and whatever, but she is there. It's like wide open space. I don't know, for some reason that phrase like walk alone is sticking out to me. Like stand up and walk alone or something.
There you go.
Is that like the gist?
Does that feel like it communicates to you something that you can chew on and
Oh
mull
yeah.
over? Stand
Mhm.
up and walk alone.
Yeah. That feels like stand up and walk. That's like 5 words that I have a lot to figure out about, but in a good way. But I think I get what you're saying. I'd really don't think there's any magic to be made of those words, like a very short sentence like that immediately. Like if I wanted to figure out what this meant right now, don't think I would do anything meaningful with that. I think it merits like sitting. So I
Yeah.
think I get what you're saying, like something that marinates, like that just its power comes from sitting, so that when I come back to it, like I understand what to ask next or something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, this is where that slowness comes in. It's like, you know how sometimes you have those tarot readings that really just leave you with more questions? This is kind of intentionally setting ourselves up for more questions that we can explore and dip into as time goes on.
Okay.
And being okay with not having the full answer right away, but having something that will help us kind of move very slowly towards an answer.
Okay. I like that. Do we practice again? Are you going to ask a question?
Yeah, let's ask another question. I like 2 cards. 2 cards feels good for this. Sometimes I'll pull 3 depending upon the deck that I'm working with, but 2 cards feels appropriate. Okay, so what question should we ask? We're thinking about authenticity. So kind of piggybacking off of that is like, how can we set ourselves up for a life that feels fulfilling?
Oh, that's all?
I'm in a world card year, man. I've got all the big thoughts. All the big things are happening.
Somebody at a market asked me a question, a 3-card reading, how do I live a good life? Okay, that's all.
This is a good technique to use for those types of questions that come up in markets where you just have like 10 or 15 minutes. Like, if you can just give someone like a piece of something to walk away with and consider.
I like that. Okay. Then if I had given him like some piece of wisdom to sit with, and I could be like, you do the work. But it's really a lot to say, like, how do I spin these 3? Okay. So can you repeat the question?
How can I set myself up, and we're reading for ourselves, for a life that feels fulfilling?
Okay.
Moving like forward, like this is action steps, right? This isn't like a philosophical question. This is a very real question.
The King of Swords strikes again. So I got the King of Swords. I like him. I like this card. And the 3 of Swords.
I got the Sibyl of Cups, which is, I had to look it up in the book, is the Queen in the World Spirit Tarot, and then the Sage of Pentacles.
And that is the
King of Pentacles.
Okay. So Queen of Cups and King of Pentacles. Okay. Face cards.
I know. I love when a Sibyl pops up too.
So my king, if you look, has a broken sword, and he has that eye like wound, missing an eye. And it makes me think there's something here about a fulfilling life being about like embracing those wounds, or like wearing our wounds or something, wearing our scars. I'm going to sit with that for a minute. But that's where I'm like, he's in a throne, he's scarred, his weapon is broken. There seems to be something there. So I'm going to, yeah. How's your brain percolating so far?
So my brain is percolating. I mean, if there is a card that is supposed to represent fulfillment in the tarot, I feel like the King of Pentacles is that card, right? He is in his lush garden. He's got his throne. He's got his pig. the sun is setting. So I feel like we're also kind of like, it's the end of a cycle here. And then on the other hand, we have this Queen of Cups. I mean, this is also just a very like peaceful card, right? These aren't stormy seas. She's talking to her dolphin friend, and she's got her shell full of water, and there's a little house or building or something on a cliff in the background with dolphins playing. So I think there's something about like contentment here. Contentment being a focus. Yeah, neither of these cards are seeking. They're both people, but they're not looking for things, right? Yeah. They just are where they are.
Same. I mean, he's sitting still. He's in his throne. He's not exactly active. He's powerful. I think my sentence is along the lines of honoring like power is honoring our scars or something. There's something, I mean, I would say as I, especially when I was younger, would conceptualize like fulfillment in life, I think I pictured it as avoiding pain or as somehow like getting over it or something. And this feels like an anchoring in the idea that that's not the point. Like in part, the fulfillment is the fullness, embracing the fullness of experience or sitting in that fullness of experience. And even and especially the moments of wounding and scarring, because like he's recovered in his throne. Look at all of the doves above him. He's so at peace and so powerful in a soft power kind of way. And like relentlessly honest. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with my sentence.
Huh. Yeah, I think mine is something about like find contentment where you are. But I think there's a little bit more there to it. I used to struggle so much with, especially like the queens and the kings of the courts, not necessarily because, for like the typical reasons of kind of like bucking up against court cards, but it felt like a space that I could never embody. It was like, whatever. Like, I'll never be that. I will never have like achieved that level, right? And years and years ago, actually with this deck, I did a practice, especially with the Queen of Pentacles or the Sibyl of Pentacles in this deck. That is one that I particularly struggle with because I'm like, I'll never be her. I sat down and like made a list of the ways that I already am, like, and do embody traits of that card. And I think, like fulfillment can feel like this thing that's out here that we're like trying to get to, or we can be like, I already am the master of my life. I already am the master of my space. So there's something there in that of like being like I am already like the queen and the king of my kingdom. But I'm trying to distill it even further. What do you got?
So this reminds me of some of the Buddhists that I knew who talked about like the process of peace and enlightenment being a steady river and not like it is slow and like not rushing waves. There's something so in any case, the reason I'm thinking about that is because it makes me think, you say fulfillment and I'm like the triumph of the world card, right? Like the big, like, ooh, how do I reach this like ostentatious, powerful, celebratory world card, that this feels like a reminder. I mean, I think he's reached the world and he's kind of past it. And he's not like wreathed and nude and holding up wands or anything. I think this is a reminder that like power is a scarring process, or like power or healing is, yeah, there's something about like power and being scarred that I kind of love.
I mean, it's almost like our wounds are our source of power, or your wounds are your source of I don't know, to me, I like sometimes like feel at the word power, but yeah.
Yeah, and he doesn't need his sword. He's chill. Like I don't think he's like, "Oh no, my weapon is broken." And there's like the little, the little flower or whatever it is down there, beautiful wispy um and those swans or doves, or not swans, the doves. Yeah, I think that power comes from surviving pain. I'm going to sit with that. That's a lot. That's all.
There you go. Yeah, something about suffering there that.
And I wasn't, we're talking fulfillment. I wasn't exactly thinking like, let's dive into suffering and the meaning of suffering. But this, yeah.
Yeah. I think I've got something here that's about like finding, I don't know, like already being there. Like you're already there.
Mm.
I'm going to sit with that. Because I also don't know that I agree with that, right? Like, and that's okay. But I think over time that will, I don't know, something can be revealed in that.
Same. I think part of what makes me uncomfortable with this is I'm a little, I don't like what sometimes it feels like the fetish of like suffering being holy. I mean, I'm Catholic, right? Like the whole that's a whole thing. And cool. Like I think there is meaning and richness in understanding that concept in its place, but I don't like the fetish of like we should flagellate ourselves because that's elevated and transcendent. So I want to be careful with myself about like suffering is beautiful or power comes from suffering, but we all have scars, we all have wounds, and like he is sitting and happy with a broken sword and like a healed facial wound.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but in Buddhism, suffering is kind of like the universal, like it's the one thing we can count on, right?
Yeah.
And it's what kind of connects us. It's what connects us with every other life and living thing.
Yeah.
Is the experience of suffering. So there's something powerful in that.
Huh. You've given me stuff to sit with. I'm going to go back and watch this video and like write these nuggets down.
We should have written it down and taken like pictures, but we can go back and rewatch it. But yeah, so that's my like slow practice for the summer to like get us to slow down, really be contemplative and thoughtful, and to not go in too much all at once, but to spread something out over time.
I like that. That very much aligns with what I know about your spirituality. That kind of like Feels like we're coming. Yeah. All right. Okay. Changing gears. My turn.
Yeah.
Yes, like you, I had my mind percolating about how to do this, coming up with something that I hope is fun and interesting. But for folks who do this at home, you're going to need a journal. You just need a deck. So you need a deck and a journal to do this, but you have a deck and a recording apparatus. So that will function as your journal. All right. So for folks who are choosing a deck, we already talked about this, but you're going to want to choose a slow deck. So you know the decks that are buzzing with energy, that have the bright color palette, messages jumping out of every card. We don't want that one. We want one that's calmer, that's slower, that invites a kind of more contemplative pace. Then you take that deck and pull out all of the major arcana. So while you pull out all of your majors, I'm going to explain a little bit more about this. For each of the majors, I've assigned in my power and genius, each of them some thematic connection to slowness. So imagining that each of the major cards is inviting us in some way to this mindful slowness. I'm going to go through the list here. The list, as I describe it very quickly here, is also going to be in the video description. So don't worry if you don't, have a quick moving hand. So the Fool, an invitation to embrace beginner's mind. The Magician, an invitation to investigate your true will. The High Priestess, an invitation to deep listening. The Empress, an invitation to seek nurturing. The Emperor, invitation to soft power. The Hierophant, an invitation to learn or relearn something. The Lovers, an invitation to settle at the crossroads. The Chariot, an invitation to literally or figuratively sightsee. Strength, invitation to sit in and with your body. The Hermit, an invitation to retreat. The Wheel of Fortune, an invitation to turn the wheel. Justice, an invitation to contemplate the untold truth. The Hanged Man, invitation to indulge an alternative perspective. Death, an invitation to excise something or someone. Temperance, an invitation to reestablish equilibrium. The Devil, an invitation to embrace temptation. The Tower, an invitation to blow up a limiting belief. The Star, an invitation to embody hope. The Moon, an invitation into the darkness. The Sun, and I thought of you, Amelia, an invitation to touch grass. Judgment, an invitation to mirror work. The World, an invitation to recalibrate the finish line. These are my invented assignments to each of these majors. Of course, you can revise or reinvent the way that you imagine each of the majors would invite us to some invitation to slow contemplation. But there we have it. Okay, so take your majors and shuffle them. And we're going to let your invitation come to you at random. Folks at home, you can be mindful about this. Think about what invitation you really need and choose that card specifically. But for us, we're going to go bananas and choose one at random. Take the risk.
All right. Should I ask a question as I'm shuffling or have
invitation? What medicine do you need? What invitation do you need right now?
All right. What medicine do I need right now? Ooh. I got the Fool.
Ooh, an invitation to beginner's mind. That Fool is so fierce. He's where?
I'm here for him.
Okay, I have the High Priestess. So what we're going to do with this card and its invitation, we are all going to shuffle all of the minors, and we're going to ask questions to investigate this invitation. The idea is that we're deeply listening to one card and what it's really inviting us to, with mindful kind of slowness and contemplation. It's similar. I mean, I think it's the same spirit of what you had me doing. This is just like a sitting and a deep investigation. We're going to talk to this card using our minors and ask it one question at a time to understand a little bit more about how that invitation is specifically, calibrated to us in our situation. I'll use as an example the High Priestess. So this is an invitation to deep listening. A question I might ask her: what is deep listening? Pull a card, see what the reading is. How is deep listening a practice of slowness? Pull a card, do my reading. And what ways have I been ignoring rather than listening? What would I gain from deep listening? How could I bring this philosophy of deep listening to the very next thing I do today? And what are the biggest obstacles to deep listening? So let's see. Beginner's mind, your invitation to beginner's mind. And if it's okay, I'm going to use my minors. We can take turns and ask your full questions just to practice. But what is your first question for the Fool?
I want to know what shape beginner's mind can take in daily life.
Okay.
I know that's such a specific question.
No, I like it. It's one card. So one of the minors. What shape can beginner's mind take in your
Daily
life? In daily life. Okay.
Am I pulling or are you pulling? Who's pulling?
You're pulling. You're pulling. It was your question.
All right. All right. So we got the Two of Wands.
Okay. What's on that card? I have a little bit of trouble seeing it.
Yeah. So we've got two trees that are kind of like growing on opposite sides, and they're kind of they're growing up into each other. And there's actually a little heart here where a bird is nested. I want to say that's a dove. And then on the other side, we have just this really scenic picture. There's a unicorn. This is a wild deck. Yeah, there's a unicorn. It's really quite idyllic. And here in the tree, we see it's like a ring with ribbons tied to it.
So what is that? How does that answer your question?
There's something very like through the looking glass quality about this. Like we, the viewer, are on, this side of the tree where it's snowing. And like here on the other side, it's this like, it's the beach, And
Narnia. This feels very Narnia.
Yeah, it does feel very Narnia. And so I think beginner's mind is like, what shape can this take in our daily lives or in daily life is like, I don't know, imagining the other side. Like what's happening on the other side.
I love that. So it's starting as a process of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. All right. I'm going to ask, what is beginner's mind? Like very fancy, like, sophisticated sounding phrase, but what do we even mean by beginner's mind? And this is Tarot de Saint Croix. I have 10 of Swords. I think this is, I'd love to know what you think about it. I think that beginner's mind is accepting that there's been an ending. Like this is an absolute ending. And we cannot accept that we're at the beginning until we're like, oh, a thing is now over. And sometimes and often I think it's not like a tragic or painful ending, but the fact of the ending is a lot. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I think, yeah.
You're like, I did it all. All right. What's your next question about? Your next question for the Fool.
How do we know that something is ready to end?
Okay. And just so folks know, and I didn't mention this, but I'm leaving out the cards that I've pulled. So I pulled out the Ten of Swords. I've set that aside. And I'm imagining this is a kind of dialogue with the deck.
Like, okay, you tell me it's an ending, but like, how do I know?
Okay, I like that. That's a reasonable question.
King of Cups. You've got quite a Dionysian figure here.
I love it. Her art is so gorgeous.
It is. It's truly stunning. I think it's because we feel the pull of something else. Like I mean, look how enticing he is.
He is.
I want to party with Dionysus. I'm not going to lie. The theater person.
Wants to party with Dionysus.
I want to party with Dionysus. And I think, yeah, there's like when something else starts seducing you.
I like that. Okay. What are the obstacles to embracing beginner's mind? Like for me specifically right now, what is, because presumably, like we shuffle to see what invitation we need, which means it's medicine we need, which means it's something we're not doing. So what is the obstacle to me doing this without the reminder? I got the Three of Wands. This is the Three of Wands in Terre de Saint Croix. So this is a very traditional and familiar Three of Wands for those of us who know the Rider-Waite-Smith. But what is she doing? She's standing on the shore. She's watching the boats depart. So she's observing life, and presumably, or maybe not presumably, but in my imagination, she was party to the planning of what we see happening, but she's left behind. So she is planning, she is watching and observing, but she is not moving herself. And so it feels like beginner's mind embraces movement, and like just before you begin, we're stuck just before the beginning looking at a beginning line here. So is that, what are you seeing?
Yeah, that's definitely like the obstacle to beginner's mind is this kind of illusion of separation, between us and the thing that we are beginning, right? It's over there, it's out there, we can't get to it. And so I think the obstacle is that separation from us and the thing that we need to begin.
As we do this, it makes me feel like we're into the flesh of the peach. Like you took us to the pit, and it's like, let's like be in the flesh of the peach.
They're all around here.
What is your next question for beginner's mind?
How do we bridge the gap between us and the thing that is calling to us?
Okay.
So if the obstacle is the gap, or the I planned it, there it goes, and I'm not a part of it. Like, how do we bridge that?
Okay.
The Eight of Wands.
Ooh. And can you explain what we're seeing there?
Yeah, so we are seeing a woman with eight quills, and she's writing.
Okay.
So how do we bridge the gap? Yeah, I mean, so full disclosure, I think I mentioned this at the very beginning, but I'm not super familiar with this deck. This is one that needs study, but that's why I picked it for this, because I was like, it's asking me to slow down and really look. And like, I know we typically wouldn't see the wands as a suit of communication, but like writing a letter and like you kind of get around that is an act of communication, and or just writing words. And so I think there's something asking us here to like be really specific and mindful with our communication around whatever this thing is. Whether that be communicating to others or even just how we speak about it with ourselves, right? Like instead of, if the obstacle is this like illusion of separation, then how can we change how we speak with ourselves so that there isn't that separation there, so that it's not up there and we're standing on the shore watching it go away? How can we change the words that we use when we talk about this thing that is calling to us, this Dionysian like temptation that feels so far away? How can we change our language around it?
I like that. The Eight of Wands for people who enjoy Golden Dawn assignments is Mercury. It's Mercury in Sagittarius. Mercury, the messenger, the quick moving god of swiftness. So a lot of people associate that Eight of Wands with like a message, quickly moving messages. I like that. She has ideas to share. Okay. I'm going to ask the last question so we don't belabor the point. But how about, and here's something to think about, right, as we walk away from this activity. You might, like, not you, but maybe you, can choose a card either mindfully or at random and just do this as like a standalone. I'm sitting in my living room journaling slowly about each of these one card pulls. I'm a person who doesn't really like doing one card pulls with tarot. So this is an insistent slowing down, at least for me, to sit and insist that one card can do the heavy lifting of a really kind of deep question. But it might be a one night activity, but it could be I pull out this card and sit with it for the week and journal about it every day, one or two questions, or I pull out one card for the summer because this is medicine I need all summer. So like there is room here to move as slowly with this exercise as you want to move it. But let's say that we were going to come back to the Fool at the end of this week for some more work. The question I would ask is, in the meantime, what do we need to sit with about the Fool's message and his medicine between now and Friday before we recommence this conversation? Like, in order to keep this kind of percolating, it feels like it goes to the activity you just had us do. Like, what's one kind of sentence to sit with? And I cannot help but think of like writing this in my Hobonichi. Looking at it every day. Like, what's your thing that you write in your planner, put on your Post-it note on your laptop or whatever? So I am pulling the Queen of Cups. I look at this. She's sitting, the water is rushing over her. And I can't help but feel like it's saying, just let it all wash over you. Like it's like, don't do the swords, don't do the heavy thinking, don't think about the meaning, like the big meaning of beginner's mind and how can I implement this and what is the medicine and whatever. Just let this whole dialogue kind of wash over us. We can come back to it. It's still there. And I think we've done some card work that is memorable in certain ways. And so, like, if this is an activity you wanted to continue, the stuff you should remember is stuff you will remember. Like, you may not remember every card you pulled, but I like this. Just like, it's always, I like a card that's like, calm down. This feels like a slow down card. Like, calm down, It is a waterfall. There's a lot, but just
Well, if you also think about it, her cup is only so big. It can only hold so much. Like, she's holding it under a waterfall. Like, she's not going to gather or collect the entire waterfall in that cup.
I really like that.
Only going to get what she can carry.
All right. So that's all. I hope that that's something that's interesting to people. As I said, the list of invitations that I came up with and assigned to each of the majors is going to be in the video description. Make up your own, make them up for all 78 cards, follow your bliss, but see if that's something that might work for you. I love a good like excavating and investigating a card, but I think that investigating the meaning in this case is really about investigating like, calm down. There's a world like there is the sort of robustness of tarot that has so much to give us, but like there's one drop of medicine you need. So what is it? And like really see what that is and look into it. All right, friends, thanks for playing with us. In the tradition of Sibyl's Gab, we have a collective wrapping it up question for the road. We like to stay on theme. So the question for today, I wrote it down. What are the costs of embodying frenetic rushing energy this week? In other words, if we don't slow down this week, like what are the costs of that? Like sometimes it's a week where we really should, I mean, I don't know, should is a difficult word, but sometimes I need to rush. Like sometimes it's a rushing week and that's the medicine we need. But like this week, what are the costs? So I'm going to be using the slow tarot. How about you?
I'm using the World Spirit Tarot. The sun. This has been coming up for us a lot.
Yeah.
It's on theme.
Yes.
The sun was like, I want to play.
You know, I've always like the sun is hot. I've always sort of vacillated between imagining summer as a time of movement and frenetic kind of hot, active, whatever, like wands energy, and a time of like slow riding on a floaty on the river. So but kind of let's see what card is in conversation with that. We have the 10 of coins.
Ooh.
10 of coins.
Interesting.
In some ways, it feels like, depending on how you organize your tarot deck, this is the very last card of the whole deck. A lot of people organize it so that it's majors, quartz, minors, and coins or earth coming last, and the 10 being the last of all the cards. It is the highest earth card. Earth feels like the slowest suit. It feels like a touch grass, like a touch dirt, like a, plant your feet. And this is riches and what like appreciate the wealth around you.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and I guess we should also mention, like, sorry for our Southern Hemisphere folks who are in the dead of winter right now. But I think there's something so interesting about what winter and summer do to each other. Winter is also very much a time of slowing down. It is, but it's like a time of kind of cocooning into that. To me, I mean, I always think of summer as a time to slow down. Maybe it's because I've been on an academic schedule for so long, so much of my life, but I think also it's so darn hot. I don't want to move fast. I don't want to do a lot of work. Summer to me is a time of like sinking into the sensory experience of being alive. And I think if we don't slow down, the cost is that we like miss out on the bounty and the richness that has to offer. I
really like this pairing.
Yeah.
This is a lovely deck. Can't you imagine that painting this image took like a month?
Oil painting is hard, man. See, that's why I like watercolor painting, because it's like you get one shot.
All right. Take us home, Amelia.
Well, that is a wrap, friends. But before you hurry up and slow down, we have a few business items. Come back here for more videos. We release at least one a week every Wednesday. So subscribe if you had some fun with us today and want notifications of our future releases. And if you have any suggestions for future topics, please drop them in the comments below. We always love a good idea. You can check out the video description for a list of all of the decks used, our social media handles, and where you can go to book a reading or a mentoring, where we can do some one-on-one work to support you in your slowdown. But until next time, friends, we will see you in the lab.
Bye, guys.